Welcome to the Zesty Ginger Podcast. We are Megan and Dr. Alex. We are here for transformation. Yours, ours, and the collective. Personal and professional for practitioners. But not just any transformation. Compassionate transformation. Because between the two of us, we have seemed to have done things the painful way. Let our pitfalls become your stepping stones. We aren't afraid to share our raw and vulnerable truths in order to help you transform your thinking, your body, your heart, and your soul. Combining 15 years of functional medicine with brain-based habit change to lead you to the best life possible in a compassionate way. Compassion, yes, yet plan to roll up your sleeves. Transformation requires your participation. And a quick reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your doctor, not this doctor, before making changes. Now let's get into the episode. Hello everybody, Dr. Alex here with you. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. Today I wanted to record a podcast episode introing a new series that is coming up. So the series that I am starting to speak on, and there will be about 24 episodes, we will see as we go, but it will be all about masculine and feminine balance. This is a topic that I have noticed has been bubbling up to the surface when it comes to kind of the collective conversation that we are having currently in our society. This has been coming up over the last couple years actually, and more I have noticed that it's becoming mainstream. Like there's just enough of a conversation happening around it, and that usually is my cue for starting to talk more about things like this. So generally the way that I work is that we start on the back end really exploring all of these concepts as we come, because obviously we talk about transformation, so unless we have lived it, we're not going to talk about it. And so over the years I have spent a lot of time, a lot of energy thinking about this, learning about this, interacting with this, teaching on it, and now the time has come to bring it more into this collective conversation that we have on the podcast. And so I wanted to take the time to intro it as a concept and kind of just set the tone for why I think this matters and why I think it's rapidly going to become something that you see all over, like social media, podcasts, shows. You're probably already starting to see some evidence of this, and I do believe that it's going to build quite rapidly because of what we're going to talk about today. There's real benefits in understanding internal masculine and feminine balance, and also mastering external expression of masculine and feminine balance. And so what are we actually even talking about here? We are talking about the energetic vibration of femininity and masculinity. So this is different than genders, right? Anything about actual physical body, and we're talking about the expression of the energy masculine and feminine. And the reason that is such an important distinction is because really every single person has both represented, and part of the case that I'm going to make is the benefit of having developed and kind of intentionally use both parts that we all carry, because just like anything, the more that we have dexterity and more that we can choose to use a resource intentionally and purposefully, the more it can really serve us and be to our advantage. So that's really kind of the whole rub of it. And so in acknowledging that we have both, every single person can benefit from a discussion on either one of these things. It is also true that people generally will associate to how they feel with one more strongly than the other. Some people, and it's much more rare, are fairly equal 50-50, but by and large most people lean towards one or the other, and it's up for each person to acknowledge which way they actually feel. And the reason that's a little bit tricky up front is sometimes what we have been conditioned to express and what we naturally feel inclined to do can be two different things. The same way that's true for human design. For example, I was not raised, did not grow up as a projector. So that is something that I had to, there were some habits I had to unlearn, and I had to learn how to live in this different way. So same kind of thing is that we generally will have a preference for leaning a certain direction, but that it can also be superseded by conditioning that we have. And really, when we have a podcast about leadership and entrepreneurship and coaches, right, why is this all so important? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today, is that when we can use these things and identify them, they become really powerful avenues for us to create the kind of life that we want. So let's dig in right now. What is the number one reason in my mind? Now, these are not ordered number one because it is the most important. In fact, I'm going to skip to the end and say number three is probably the one that you care more about, which is more powerful manifesting, actually getting yourself the results that you say that you want. So we'll get to number three. But number one starts with because they continue to build on them. So that is why I'm doing it in this order. But number one, it is so crucial. One of the reasons we want to have a good understanding and to really care about our masculine and feminine balance is because it creates a really powerful tool and awareness for creating awareness of self, right? To understand who you actually are is in part created by the understanding of how you work, and there are definitely layers to that. There's many components, and this is one of the foundational ones. And what I think that actually translates to more powerfully than even just self-awareness, because self-awareness is great, but why do we care? We care because I think at the end of the day, when we understand who we are, how we best work, and how we navigate ourselves and our life experiences, that creates a very tangible, long-term, safe avenue for true confidence to be cultivated, right? Because a lot of people want to affirm confidence or to do the things that then they can point to as evidence and say, I did those, therefore I'm confident. And those things are great, but part of what I think the hang up for confidence is that we have to create opportunities to see and witness our own confidence being lived out by us, right? There has to be the awareness of this is tricky, or this is a thing that I have to figure out, and then I did, and look at me go, right? And part of what feels so good about doing things like that and why it's so important to cultivate is that it really requires, first and foremost, the self-awareness of who you really are to begin with, right? So it's hard to create confidence when you're going against who you are, and when you do things that undermine your own fabric, right? The things that make you unique, the things that give you your special perspective that no one else has, the things that make you stand out from the crowd. For us to stand in the power of that requires a hefty amount of self-awareness, and without understanding something as foundational as the balance between our masculine and feminine for each of us, it becomes very difficult to create true confidence and to create the life that we really want and can feel proud of without understanding this very important dynamic. So that is one big one. And then let's build on to that. Number two, the second reason to care about masculine and feminine balance within yourself and with others is because it leads to, just the same way self-awareness can improve your relationship with yourself, Number two is it'll improve the relationship you have with others. Now, much of this is discussed in the space of romantic relationships. That is certainly true. And we talk about that here all the time because your relationships certainly set the tone for everything else that you do and experience and how you feel about yourselves. So it's certainly not in a vacuum with that topic. And it extends then to how we act in family dynamics, how we parent, how we work in our businesses, how we coach, how we teach. And I think it really culminates when we talk about leadership, because to get to leadership, we have to create a mastery level experience of our self-awareness. So building on point number one, and then also creating the confidence and the success strategies to actually have high quality relationships and to lead relationships and to create them together with other people in the way that we intend and in the way that we choose right now. Not from a reflexive, this is how I've always done it, or this is how I've stayed safe, or what have you. It's actually about bringing that awareness and bringing what you know about yourself and what you know about the other people around you, recognizing those things, and then even having the ability to navigate those situations, right? If you understand the moving different parts and how you can interact, then you can step up in a more real, authentic, effective way in relationships and in certain situations. And you can continue to set the tone for where those relationships are going. And that is also true when we're in business in terms of thought leadership, right? If you have a podcast, if you post on social media, if you teach in any capacity, all of these things require us to have an understanding of the different moving parts. With leadership, then, it becomes especially important with masculine and feminine balance, is because as we understand the role of the feminine and the role of the masculine, we understand that to effectively lead involves the interplay of both. We have to understand ourselves enough to function from whichever way, whichever portion of ourselves, masculine or feminine, at any given time, that is going to get us the results that we want, right? So in certain situations, like romantically and family wise, that is where, for me personally, right, the expression is much more feminine. Now, I'm just sharing my version of what this looks like. But let's say that Megan and I are teaching at one of our certifications, right? The retreats, the in-person 7-day certifications. In that capacity, there are times where I very much know that there is benefit, and I actively choose to step into my masculine as part of the leadership there, right? Megan and I are holding space for our people to come and to transform. And that means that there has to be a lot of safety cultivated, a lot of understanding, compassion, authenticity, vulnerability, strength, right? For people to feel safe opening up, to explore the depths of what holds them back, and all of this stuff requires the cultivation of a very powerful, safe space. For us to create that in that time, I absolutely step into my masculinity. And when I go home at the end of the day, I step right out of it because I cannot bring that same energy into relationships that don't require that sort of energy. So this is what I mean by we need to understand when and how to use these energies that are already within us. We are doing it in real time all the time. You're stepping in and out of your masculinity and your femininity at any given point. But the question is, are you doing intentionally, or is it taking you for a ride? And when it comes to leadership and transformation, we don't settle for things taking us for a ride. We say, how am I going to cultivate a deeper understanding of this so that I can choose how I want to express this at any given time. That also means we take a lot more responsibility for our life, but it often means that we get what we want, right? So if we're willing to do that, then we step into all of the goodness that we've been after. And that brings us to step number 3. Reason 3 to care about masculine and feminine balance is that really masculine and feminine balance, when it is healthy and in a balanced dynamic, that is our most powerful creative state. Think about masculine and feminine meeting when it comes to making humans, right? That's the ultimate expression in creativity, but at the same time, people will focus on that and forget all the other stuff that they're creating. Because whether you're talking about creating money or creating a book or creating a podcast or creating change in thought on this planet or helping people act or be different, all of that is an act of creation, right? And so that's where at the end of the day, even if people are like, I'm not that jazzed about thinking about masculine and feminine, maybe you're like, I'm not in a relationship, maybe I don't feel like that much of a leader right now, maybe confidence is, yeah, sure, I could use some more, but it's not a big thing. But at the end of the day, what people care about is getting the results that they want. They want to live the life that they dream of, and people are not happy when they're not doing that, right? That's where people feel bitter and resentful and like they're putting in a lot of work and it's not happening, or they know what they need to do but they kind of hold back on doing it. All of that is an expression of the symptoms that something is imbalanced in the masculine and feminine, right? When we are in our hustle, go, go, go mode and we work until our eyeballs bleed and we're not seeing results, that is the quintessential, I'm in my masculine, I'm trying to muscle through, but I don't have the other side of the road open. I can't receive, so I keep pumping stuff out into the universe and it doesn't seem to get back to me, and now I'm pissed, right? So that's an imbalance of the feminine. Or it can be the other way around. Let me feel good, let me meditate, let me go with the flow, and nothing's really happening in your world, right? It feels good, but it doesn't feel so good that you're getting results. Or you feel scared to put things out there, you're not sure what to do, and you keep feeling lost, confused, and stuck. Lack of masculine internal leadership for ourselves. So there's a couple really kind of hard stops that I personally hold. But when I'm not getting results in something, that's one of the hard stops. Because usually at that point, if it's a results problem, it's one of these foundational things where the problem lies, right? There's something about the expression of who I am being that is not congruent with who I say I want to be and who that person is. Like, what is she doing? What is she accomplishing? So anytime there's a hold up on the results, that's what I'm starting to ask. And these masculine and feminine dynamics that really underlie why we do what we do and the energy with which we do it, it's become a huge puzzle piece that I look towards on the table, because anytime something has gone wrong there, it points us to the fact that we could shore up more of that balance. There's more intentional ways that we can bring balance to our masculine and feminine, and in doing so, our confirmation will be to live the results that we say that we want. And over time, that's where with that self-awareness, it turns from these small feelings of, ooh, yeah, this is how I can create that self-awareness, and yes, that's building confidence, all the way up to now I parlayed that confidence and now I'm actually holding that book I wrote. Now I can actually share that podcast that I recorded and created, right? You're actually translating it all the way over to a finished product. And at the end of the day, with transformation, internal transformation, super key. That's step number one, but we do want to track it out too, creating the life that we want, because heck, that's why we're all here, right? That's what we're all after. So we're not looking to be inauthentic about that goal. It is totally fine to have it. Let's just talk about what's relevant and create the avenues to have all those good things, and then we actually get to enjoy them. And that's kind of our whole point. At least that's what Megan and I are here for, right? To live out the good stuff that we want to experience. And we will do that in a way that when I get there, I'll know I'll have helped people along the way. That's kind of what I have signed up for, and that's how I plan to do it. And the masculine and feminine components of that, to me, are key. They're central to getting there, because without them, I can't create on this planet the things that I want to see. And since that's true, and I do want to see the things I want to see on this planet, I will continue to be implementing and shoring up my experience of the masculine and feminine dynamic. So I'm going to be sharing all of that. We're going to do a 24-part series-ish. There might be more. Honestly, I keep coming up with more topics as I create the outlines, so we'll just see. As always, I would love to hear from you if there are relevant topics that you want to hear about, if there are things that you're like, ooh, I have questions about this, I'm just not sure how this translates. Go ahead and shoot us an email. It's support@zestyginger.com, or shoot us a DM over on Instagram. It's just at @zesty_ginger. Don't forget to join us for our next Coaches Connect. We'll have a link down below in the show notes, but otherwise it's zestyginger.com/Coaches Connect, all one word. Alrighty, I will see you for the series, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.
Thanks for coming out to hang with us on the podcast. It is our goal to transform the way women are treated in healthcare. And we need your help. We need your help to get the word out. We have a lofty goal of 1 million downloads. And we know that as this podcast grows, we're going to be able to reach more women, get more amazing speakers for you, and bring the most cutting-edge information.
If you found these pod classes helpful, please take a moment to text 5 women you know the link to the series. We appreciate your help so much. Can't wait to see you next time.